Welcome to the Dumb Idea Podcast with Mike and Alex. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the show. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share this video or podcast on any platform that you're listening on. Please visit us at www.dumbideapodcast.com. All right, welcome back to another episode. We've got another guest in the basement tonight. We're going to use first names only, just so there's no identifying information, in case any crazies are out there. Stephanie, who is credentials LMSW, basically Masters in Social Work, licensed Masters in Social Work. Worked in the mental health field for 16 years as a mental health therapist. Has done therapy with individuals, worked in the foster care system, worked for the state, and also has experience with addiction and survivors of intimate violence. So she's very well versed in the topic we want to discuss today, and it's a topic Mike and I have talked about before. We've pretty much primarily talked about the mental effects of the COVID situation and the various stages of it. So we've had the masks for adults, masks for kids. We've also had various stages of lockdown or restrained movement, restrained gatherings, and we had been trying to figure out what the mental health toll on the general population would be for these things, and it wasn't going to be something we'd see probably right away. But now that we're about 2.5 years in, obviously, you and I we're not going to know professionally. Like, we can speculate, we could kind of figure things out a little bit, but this was something that we had talked about bringing a professional in. And luckily, we were able to get Stephanie in here, and so we'll talk about that today. But talking about protecting identity, as we're all using first names here, you can go on our website at dumbideapodcast.com. Go ahead and click on that private internet access link. Go ahead and get yourself a VPN to hide your identity or your identifying characteristics that you use online, or even if you don't want to be tracked online. If you go into your Google searches, you go search Superman, and all of a sudden you got 35 ads for Superman underwear, or your underoos all of a sudden, and now you're getting Superman T-shirts, Superman movies, all in your search results. And well, to get rid of that, you can use something like a VPN, which encrypts your data, and it's also very important to use a VPN to protect your credit card data. And I've talked about this before. A lot of people are using their debit cards online. Unfortunately, if someone gets access to your debit card, they have access to all your cash. At least with the credit card companies, you've got some protection a little bit as far as fraudulent purchases. But debit cards are a little bit different. You do have some protection there, but why not take the extra step yourself, be proactive, get a VPN, and sign up for one today for as little as $2.50 a month. Go to private internet access. You can go there through the link on our website, dumbideapodcast.com. Click on that link. We do get a little bit of a commission on that, so it would help us out. We also have the donate link on the page if you want to help support the podcast for as little as $1. Well, you can buy us a cup of coffee, so that'd be great.
$1 a month will support these poor podcasters in the basement.
Well, it'll help us orphans in the basement of coffee. All right, so we were talking about the mental health. That's what we want to talk about. I want to welcome Stephanie.
It's very nice to be here. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm very excited to talk to both of you and also anybody else that's listening. So I'm very excited to be here.
Well, so I guess one of the things, and I don't even know whether we want to start with kids or we want to start with adults. Where do you want to go with this?
Well, let's so we, like you had said, we mentioned the kids. Yeah. We also mentioned the impact of people just being sequestered amongst, and then having nothing but access of pure fear porn getting pumped into their heads. So, and then a lot of people are probably already on shaky mental health ground anyway. So I guess we just kind of going overall, like since the pandemic started, have you seen an increase in people seeking services, or has it not been, and people probably should be?
For the most part, I think there has been a huge increase of people that have never experienced anxiety or depression are now feeling that way. Like I've had experiences with clients where they have so much anxiety just leaving their house, and they never did before. All the things they used to enjoy to do, now they can't even do it. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it has isolated them even more. And the people that have already been diagnosed with like depression, anxiety, those emotions and feelings have increased. Because when we tell people that are depressed, go out, go do stuff, keep yourself busy, be around people. And now with everything going on, you can't be around people. You have to be isolated.
Yeah. So the one thing you would tell people to do, now you can't.
You can't even tell them.
Wait, don't do that, or do it via Zoom.
Now you can't be around people at all.
Ugh. And I hate Zoom. Don't sue me, Zoom, but I much prefer face to face than Zoom or Teams or Google Meet or FaceTime or whatever. It's just not the same. So
it's not the same, but thank goodness we have those resources out there, like video chat and Zoom, where they still have that connection. Mm-hmm. And they can, now, the beautiful thing about the whole telehealth is that even after all, whatever the new norm is or whatever happens, that will still be available,
I think that's a big thing.
And I think that's huge when you think about, I've had situations where people aren't able to come in the office for a session because either they have transportation issues or childcare issues, or, I've had clients where I have a session in their car during lunch break, during their lunch break at work, so some people have reached out and been able to get help and treatment now more than ever than they did before because of those restraints.
I know me personally. So when I went back into therapy last year, all of my visits since then have been via telehealth. Mm-hmm. The guy uses the website doxy.me, which it's a pretty popular one. When my wife was doing therapy for children, speech therapy, she was doing it over Google Meets, and that was one of the hurdles she had, because she had always thought about going into private practice. And her hesitation was, well, how am I going to do this over the internet? Or would I be able to start up? And since she was kind of forced to do it for her employer, it gave her confidence that if she ever had to, she could go do it. So I think telehealth, aside from therapy, I think I've done like some urgent care visits via telehealth. Yeah. So I didn't have to go out of the house. Like, it was nice. Yeah. Like, I felt like garbage and I didn't have to go out of the house.
Yeah, I did a checkup with my primary via Zoom or whatever it was that we use. I call it all Zoom. Yeah. It's like, I'm going to be like one of those old guys that says the Facebook.
Mm-hmm. on the line?
Yeah. So, but
what was that movie? I forgot. Was it The Intern? It wasn't The Intern, was it?
You're the cinephile, not me.
It was the one with Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson.
Oh yes,
yeah.
They go to
Intern.
Google. The Intern.
Yes.
And Vince Vaughn comes up. So I want to take this. I just want to put it on the line.
Yeah.
You mean online? On the line? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great movie.
I'm gonna be on the Zoom.
Yep.
On the Zoom. Yep. Now, my first ever, because I started getting some anxiety issues after my mother died, and my first one ever was via Zoom. And the thing is, everyone has this preconceived notion of what therapy is. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was going to go and like lay on a couch, and then some dude that looked like Sigmund Freud was going to be saying, "Oh, is this very, very
TV
interesting?"
did that. TV made
writing
it seem
stuff
like
down,
that.
and like I'd have a box of tissues next to me.
So some guy's sweater vest.
Yep.
Right, there was some lady,
cardigan.
Yeah, but no, this was some lady. She was wearing like a hoodie on TV, and then like her cat would like jump on the thing, and like she'd be like, "Oh, sorry about my cat."
Yeah,
and I'm like, and I'm in my basement, so that was kind of weird. I prefer in person though.
Yeah, in person is so. I think you miss some of you miss some of like the nonverbal cues and body language of people when, especially when you're doing type of therapy in person rather than what you're doing through Zoom or, you know, any kind of telehealth. So I know for myself, I would prefer in person because I like to do like art directives and do something more interactive. And see how they're really doing.
Right.
You know, I think in telehealth, think about it, you can only see them, you know, their head and part of their body. You don't really see the whole thing.
you miss, you know, body language.
You
like,
do. You
know,
really
if you say
do.
something that takes someone back, like they'll physically move back from you. That's where the term "taken aback" comes from. But you miss that in that you miss posturing and
you miss an interaction.
Yeah.
That, you know, and I think that's a whole part of therapy is them feeling comfortable with you and putting that guard, you know, taking that guard down.
Yeah.
You know, because I always say going to therapy is probably one of the hardest, but probably the most brave thing to do, because you're talking about things you don't usually talk about, or your dirty laundry, or things that you normally don't talk about, and you're talking to a stranger, someone that's not in your support network, not your family member, not your civic other. You're talking to a stranger, you know, and that could be scary.
Yeah.
You know,
part of it's nice though, and the reason why I say that is because for any of the Catholics out there,
Catholic guilt.
Well, but there was also the confession.
Yes, that's true.
And they always did it where you went into the booth. The pastor or priest went into the other side of the booth, and they had the thing, the slider. Mm-hmm. So they couldn't see you. You couldn't see them. And there was the comfort of confessing or having therapy, talking to... you knew it wasn't a stranger, and the priest could probably tell who you were by your voice if they knew you well enough. Mm-hmm. But there was still the barrier there, which sometimes I think can make someone open up a little bit more.
Yes. I've been in and out of therapy since I was 16 years old. So I'm not because I do it for a living, but I am a huge believer in it because I think everyone at one time in their life should go see a therapist at least once, because it's someone outside of it's someone that's neutral, someone that could give you, you know, suggestions and kind of just somewhere you can vent, like a safe place where you can vent, and they're not going to judge you. They're not going to, you know, they just see it differently, you know, and I just think at one time or another, you should at least one time in your life.
So let's kind of move a little bit forward in the timeline. So people were dealing with new restrictions. Mm-hmm. And now I'm going to skip the middle. We're going to go to the end, or to now, where the restrictions are starting to be lifted. But you still see people very hesitant to return back to normal. Now, in this state, where, I mean, everyone knows we're in Maryland, we didn't have as bad of restrictions as some other places like New York and California. Like New York now, well, I guess we're on par with New York as far as kids and masks in schools. But even like we haven't had to wear masks in buildings other than like one week this past month. But for the most part, we've been no masks for a while. Other places haven't. And now that people are able to go out without masks, even around here, I see people going into businesses with masks on.
I see people riding their bikes outside with masks.
Well, that too. I mean, but I don't think there's any hope for those people.
No.
Or
in their car by themselves.
Yeah, or the people in their car by themselves. Like they're afraid they're going to get it from someone's exhaust coming through the car. Or as our fun example of the breath wake from the single file line that someone was opposed to because they were afraid someone would walk into someone else's breath that was left there for them. Like get out of here with that nonsense. But anyway, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But how hard is it going to be for some of these people to let go of the crutch or the safety blanket that is the mask? Or some people still won't go out to restaurants.
No.
Or there are some people, and we talked about this before, like my mother, like she doesn't want to go inside and sit with other people that haven't been vaccinated because she's afraid she's more likely to get it from them, even though she's gotten her first and second shot. She got COVID even after that, and she's going. I think she went and got a booster, and she's still worried that if she sits down next to someone who hasn't been vaccinated, and she's down in Florida, so there's a lot of them, that she's more likely to catch it. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to be all right. You've got your protection. You've got your armor on. It doesn't matter. Even if you might be a little bit more likely to catch it from them, because if we talked about this, it's like having more sugar in the Kool-Aid. It's a little more potent. Yeah. If someone got COVID that didn't have the power to, or didn't have the vaccine or whatever to fight it, they might have more of the virus in them. I don't know if that's a thing, but some people say that's a thing. But someone like my mother, who maybe she's willing to let go of the mask a little bit, but now she doesn't, like, she told me, she's like, I think I have the right to ask if the people I'm going to be with are vaccinated or not. I was like, that's not how this works. I don't think you can. I don't think that's appropriate. But that's two different opinions. I know there are some people on her side that agree with that statement. But so I guess it goes back to the point. When are people going to let go of that blanket, like the Linus blankie?
I think there's so much gray to that. I think it also is case by case, and for example, your mom, it's really when she feels comfortable, and that might take baby steps. That might take, because I do think there are people out there that do fear that, and that's they don't want to let go of that secure blanket. And they're, I think anything you get comfortable somewhere, it's hard to change it. If you are so used to for so long how things have been, and they've been like this for 3 years now?
No, 2 years.
Yeah, 2.5 years.
So, like, I know, like, I and everyone knows, like, I kind of stopped taking COVID seriously in May of 2020. So, but I was kind of
2 months in.
I've been
2 weeks. Stop, spread them out. Yeah. Done. Thanks.
I gave 2 months.
Yeah,
I'm good. But I think there's some people that it fit their worldview.
Yeah.
But I know that, like, if there's something I really don't want to do, so I'm afraid of COVID. Like, no, I know you. You're not afraid of it. You just don't want to go.
That's right. Yeah. You're coming.
Yeah.
But, like, someone who's already on that shaky ground, that shaky mental health position, whatever that may be, whether it's depression, anxiety,
it's maybe 10 times worse.
And then they want to, now you're giving them an excuse.
Yeah,
you have to wear a mask. You can sit inside. You don't have to go anywhere. And in my layman's opinion, and I'm kind of thinking, like, there are some people that are probably thinking, you know what? This works for me.
Yes.
I don't have to, I have an excuse. It's almost like cover.
Especially if people that have major social anxiety, this is their ideal situation,
utopia, right? Yeah.
Because there's that whole fear of being around a lot of people. Now it's like they have to stay away.
Yeah.
But it also, it kind of also, there's a lot of gray too, because it's also keeping them in that position. A lot of times when someone has social anxiety, we suggest them to go and try to challenge there.
Right. Almost like, what is it, exposure therapy?
Yeah.
Like, if you're afraid of airplanes, like, go to the airport.
Yeah, step by step. Do one thing at a time.
Sit in the airplane.
Yeah, and see how you feel.
Yeah.
Do one thing at a time. Like, if, like, I've suggested clients, if they do have that social anxiety, know where there's always an exit. Wherever you go, if you go into a family gathering and there's a lot of people around, give yourself time that maybe you're only going to be there for an hour, or you drive yourself. So you have an exit if you need to go, or take a lot of breaks, go to the bathroom, wash your hands, take a deep breath, like
it's kind of probably where smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, smoking, exactly. Smoking cigarettes, separate yourself from the situation for a little bit. If you need to go outside and take a deep breath and go back inside, like, find things, coping skills, things that can help you get through situations like that.
But then when you gave them the COVID excuse, now it's, there's still COVID, and there are still people who are very much like, because I think most well, most people I know anyway have kind of come around to where I'm at. Like, okay, I'm done with
Yeah.
this. I've been done with this.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe I not have been done with it for as long as I've been done with it, but are now. But I guess there probably. But there are still people there who are like, no, they're going to wear their mask to, ride their bike by themselves outside. So,
But I mean, how much of it is people reintegrating into society? Because you got to remember, and I'll just use our state as an example. All of last school year, kids were home. Mm-hmm. Most people that could were teleworking. So
Yep.
so not only did you, I don't want to use the word isolate because our kids obviously weren't isolated. Our kids were playing with each other.
yeah.
But there were plenty of people who went by the letter of the rule and said, okay, my kids aren't leaving the house. I'm not leaving the house. And now all of a sudden, okay, not all of a sudden, but over the last 6-7 months, a lot of stuff got relaxed. And now these people have to reintegrate basically back into society. I mean, you took a year out from them having any, well, not any, but most interaction with human beings. And you could probably speak to this. I've heard that there have definitely been some behavioral issues within children in this year back at school. So 2021 to 2022, our kids were back in school. But 2020 to 2021, they were at home. And from some of the teachers that I've talked to, they're saying the kids' behaviors are not age typical right now. Mm-hmm. They're saying a lot of them are emotionally and socially behind.
Yeah, they regressed from not being around, because as you know, with children being in the schools, it's not just about the education.
Right.
It's about them interacting with their peers and forming friendships. And, there's so much to do with that growth, and of them not being around those children, is a very regression. And, as children, and, both of you having children know, children don't know how to regulate their emotions, so they use their behaviors, what they know, either acting out, because they don't know how to regulate their emotions. So there is more behavior issues in the school system that maybe students that never had a behavior issue, now they're starting to in that environment because they don't know how to respond to the environment. They're used to being at home. They're used to, especially I think it is a disservice when a child's an only child.
Right.
When they don't have that interaction with peers. So I think there is a lot of, and actually right now in the school systems, they're in need of having more, social workers in the school system and more of that mental health part, because the school system are seeing such a decrease and such an increase in their behaviors related to this.
Special ed was severely underfunded to begin with. Mm-hmm. And
Sorry.
We're moving the mic a little bit. But yeah, the special ed, and I know this because my wife works in that area, not necessarily in direct special ed, but she works with some kids that need help. And it was even before COVID happened, and a lot of people retired, and a lot of people did retire. Mm-hmm. And that's something that isn't spoken about enough. But there were too few therapists in the elementary schools. There were too few counselors in the schools. Too few speech therapists in the schools. They just didn't have enough to serve certain populations of these schools. I mean, like the elementary school our kids go to has 750 kids. You've got one SLP, one or two special educators, and one school counselor.
Yeah.
You got one for 750 kids.
Yeah, and a lot of them don't even, they work in multiple schools.
Yeah. Well,
that's another factor too.
So my wife, when she first started with the county, she was in one school, one elementary school, full time, that was it. Now, she's in two schools. And they wanted her to be in three, and she's like, what am I going to do in three schools? Like, I got to do IEP meetings. I got to do therapy services. I got to do screenings. She goes, if one school does a single day for meetings and I only have one day at that school, what am I going to do with the other stuff? Mm-hmm. So it wasn't just, I mean, it's not just speech therapists, but so before all this happened, there were issues with staffing and providing appropriate services. Then you take into effect all the retirements from COVID. Some teachers didn't want to deal with the online school. Some teachers did it and then retired because they thought it was awful and they didn't want to do it again. Others just said, hey, look, I got my 30 years in. I'm realizing I don't need the money. I'm out. Mm-hmm. And I know with the county, they used to have a full roster of speech pathologists. Full roster. They didn't have any openings. Now they have 12 openings. That's a lot of positions that you lost there. A lot, and it wasn't the position. They got funding. They just don't have,
they're vacant.
They're vacant.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of them out there. So you're fighting for every other county, with every other county for those small group of people. And the other weird thing about these school systems is they're not like corporate America where they know how to go out and recruit people. Mm-mm. That's the school systems do. I mean, it's funny. Like, we're looking for a new superintendent. They hired a search firm to go find one.
Yeah. Well, Maryland has. This is a little bit off topic. You'll learn about this show is that we meander.
Yeah, we're never going to stay on topic. We'll talk about ice cream later.
Hey, you never know, right? Whatever comes up.
But Maryland, I think there's 26 counties in Maryland and 10 superintendent vacancies throughout the state.
Yep.
So these guys, these dudes and these ladies are going to be like, put a couple more zeros on that check. Let's put some respect on that check.
That's right. So and these guys this is not small pay either.
No, these are like, I mean,
ours was getting what, $400,000 plus car plus living expenses.
Yeah.
And the $400,000 was what you could take home.
Yeah.
It wasn't what you didn't pay for anything else.
But yeah, so it's, and when you have vacancies, and it's all across government has vacancies in all the different sectors of government, and then the private sector too. But I think the government's slow to realize that, like, the school system thinks that they're just competing against the other school system. So Anne Arundel thinks that they're just competing against probably Baltimore County, PG County, Howard, Montgomery, Calvert, Queen, the board. Mm-hmm. But what they don't realize is that they're competing not just locally, regionally, statewide, nationally,
sometimes nationally,
and then even across industries. Mm-hmm. Because if you come out and you maybe you're a speech and language pathologist or therapist, whatever they're called, but you can get hired in the private sector making 3 times the money and work from home doing it. Like, why would you go work for the school making what the school pays?
Mm-hmm.
The last 10 years, though, a lot of these places didn't have to worry about that because there were more workers than jobs.
Yeah.
But now when we talked about this, I believe there were 5 million jobs lost over the COVID situation. 2.5 million of those, though, were retirees who were not coming back.
Yeah.
So you lost them permanently.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these people did the jobs that nobody really wants to do. Like, it's not like the teaching profession is just getting a wave of new people in every year. People don't want to be teachers anymore.
Yeah.
Because they hear about the nonsense. Yeah, and some of the nonsense is justified, because just like in any other industry, there are some crap teachers out there.
Mm-hmm.
But the good ones are leaving, and that's what always happens. Like, it's not the good employees that stay. The good employees leave because there's other opportunities for them. They can go get something. And right now, with all the job openings there, the private sector is gobbling anybody up that they can find.
Oh yeah,
because they can't find anyone either.
Right.
So, like, for example, my wife, she used to just get like an email a week about openings.
Mm-hmm.
She gets 2 phone calls a week and at least 3 emails from recruiters trying to get her to leave.
Yeah.
And every time she's like, "Oh, I'm not looking for a job." But one of those days she might be, "Oh, okay, that check has more zeros on
it. That's got some more respect on that check."
Yeah.
Now, in the mental health field, have you seen fewer colleagues or more colleagues leaving? Like, are you busier now because of because you have an increase in patients.
Yes.
And then is there a decrease in staff that you're dealing with?
Yes, because right now the need is all over for, mental health therapists and every aspect right now with what's going on. The need is very high, but also it can be very competitive as well. And a lot of jobs are, they want to work from home, 5 days a week. So that's also some, like my job that I have now, like they want you in the office, even if, I see most of my clients through telehealth. There's some clients that I see in person, so they do want that body in the office, even if they're telehealth. So yeah, there's been definitely an increase. Like we have, a lot of more, clients and a lot of returning clients too, that I haven't seen in years come back because of all this.
Yeah.
Well, that's like me. I went to therapy, I think it was like 10 years ago, roughly. Just went back last year. So I mean, there was like 9-year gap.
Good for you to go back.
I went back.
I
don't know if I like the guy though.
Oh, and that's it. And I think that's a bit. If anything, I could tell to anybody that is thinking about going to therapy, having someone that you feel comfortable with, and having that's probably one of the so important, because if you don't feel comfortable with the person, you're not going to get anything out of it.
No, now you guys don't take it personally, do you?
No,
because
I definitely
like me. Screw him.
No, like
I gotta get out of here because you freak me out.
Like I would rather, to be honest, because I think it would be a disservice. You're coming in to get help, and you want to, if there's a client that doesn't connect with me of anything, I'd want to help them find someone that will be connected, that can connect with them, and they feel comfortable. So no, I don't. When I first started, I did. Let's be real, I did take it personal. I'm like, what did I do wrong? Like, why don't this person like me?
Why don't they love me?
And then on the flip side, though, like I'm a softie, so I'd be like, I don't want to hurt this person's feelings. Like she's a nice lady.
Oh, or the other way, where because I am a therapist, I am even more picky about a therapist for myself.
It's like, is it like when a waitress goes to a restaurant?
Yes.
And like,
oh yes,
I'm very this wrong.
I'm very like, because I know what they're supposed to be doing, and and I've also learned what not to do from going to my share of therapists that I did not feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's really crucial. And coming to see somebody I know is hard, but I think it's definitely beneficial.
That's part of the reason why I don't switch, though. So I think I went through 2 others before I met this guy. He's a nice guy. Like my thing is, like, I don't know if what he's doing is working so well. Not that I don't like him. I think he's a fine person. It's just that my wife goes like, has he done anything? Like, has anything really changed in the year? Like, because there were particular things that I was trying to work on. And I was like, I really don't know. I don't feel any different. Like, I don't really know what's happening or what's working. But I did see 2 people before him though, and then I one guy. He was like the old school. Like there was a couch, and I think he was a psychologist though. But he had the cardigan. Like, but it was an appointment toward the end of the day, and the guy's like starting to fall asleep.
Oh, his pad of paper, like writing stuff down like this. Mm-hmm,
like I could see, I could see the head nod, the head bob, and I'm like, "Yo, I'm like, this is." I think he was the first one I saw. And I was like, "This is what this is." Like, no, at least stay awake.
Glad I'm not paying out of pocket for this.
Right? Yeah. And so I was like, "Well, this guy's got to go." And then there was like I saw a lady, and she was a little bit too, I guess the best way, she was too much Vermont flower for me. Like, it was just like, oh, well, the sunshine and rainbows are here for you. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, what's wrong with it?
I think you gotta read the room before you start breaking that shit.
You do.
Right. Yeah.
And always the first, there's a lot of, the first 2 sessions or sometimes 3 sessions, or they do an assessment where they try to, they ask a lot of questions about your background. So that's also, I don't know, I think it takes time. I think I've had, especially working with children, for therapy, I've had a lot of parents say, well, my child has been seeing you for, 3 weeks now, and I don't see a difference. Well, it's not like a magic pill. It's going to take time. And even for a child, it's going to take even longer for someone to feel comfortable. And we usually use play, of activities. But the same thing with adults. It might take some time to get, kind of peel those layers, in the onion, right? You got to peel those layers, and it's going to take some time.
Well, people want everything to be
immediately
done now, and it's the same. It's a process, I guess. With
you have to trust it, and you have to keep going. I always say that's one of the biggest suggestion I can give anybody that's thinking about going to therapy or started going to therapy is keep going. Even if for the few times you've gone, you feel like you don't really know if this is working, like I don't really feel like, give it a little more time and then be like, okay, well, I gave it this amount of time and I don't see anything has, because again, you're the one that's doing the work. You only see the therapist, counselor once a week, every other week, or once a month, but you spend 365 days, 24/7 within yourself. So it's more about the therapist is there to give you suggestions and kind of like I always put this as the clients are the ones that are doing the work. I'm on the sideline cheering you on and encouraging you and giving you suggestions.
You're like a coach. More than
kind
player.
of, but I also give suggestions and kind of give you a different way of looking at things. Like, oh, have you thought of this way, or like kind of the fork in the road. And I have worked with a lot of people that have had trauma and have suffered PTSD, and I've done a lot of work on that part, and especially with trauma, that does going to take a little longer. Like a lot of it has happened in their childhood. That's coming up now as an adult in their adult relationships. So there is a lot of work to go with that, and that takes time and patience.
I was hoping when I went to therapy, the guy would be just like, "You're not smoking enough weed. You should probably get on that more, and that'll solve all your problems."
I know what would be good for you. Drink more.
Right.
Like, where's that therapy?
Right.
It's like I want to go to the personal trainer, the dietitian. It's like, what's missing in your regimen?
More chocolate.
What's that? Pizza and beer.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, how much money do you want?
You're hired. Thank you. The therapist I do go to, though, because one of my issues is flying. And you had talked about that before. I am not a big fan of flying. Mostly becomes if I have to use the restroom on the bathroom, that thing is tiny and I don't fit. And so I don't want to be on a plane for very long because I don't want to use the bathroom. But one of the things he actually mentioned was, now he was talking about like a prescription drug, like Xanax or something.
Yeah, to help you get through
kind
it.
of just, it'll just not knock you out, but it'll make you happy on the flight.
Yeah.
More or less. And I haven't tried it yet. I think we're going somewhere in about the end of May for a wedding without the kids. So this is going to be our trial run on a plane because the flight's only an hour and 25 minutes. It's up, you're down. But I'm like, all right, let me pop this pill.
Dude, without the kids, you'd probably just flap your wings and fly there yourself. You'd be so like, oh, I'm out of here. Oh, you want me to get on that Cessna 172? I'm there. I'll pee in a bucket. I don't care.
Well, like I'm really weirded out by prescription drugs. Like we talked about this before. That, and I don't think you've watched it yet, but you might have. That show Dope Sick.
Yes, good show.
Great show.
But very sad.
It creeps me out. Because I watched it just as I was getting prescribed the Xanax. And not that Xanax is the same as opioids, but the benzos have a very similar
They're still
addiction
in the family,
panel.
the same little family. Yeah.
So, and what the concern for me was that it wasn't so much how it was when they were on it. It was how hard it was for them to get off it. And with the opioids in particular, but the benzos did the same thing where it alters your brain to the point where, like, you can't just go. It's not going to, like, I think they said you have to go on, for opioids, it was like you had to go on methadone.
Yes.
And you couldn't get off methadone. And then they came out with Suboxone. Mm-hmm. And I guess Suboxone, like, the example they showed was someone took it for 2 years and then they started to wean off of it. But that's still a 2-year plus recovery process.
Oh, there's
and
a
so
lot
I'm
of
freaked out by
yeah.
the fact
There's
that
a
if I take this thing,
there's
I'm
a
gonna
lot
get
of
addicted.
people that are on methadone or Suboxone for years and years, and that's their journey. That's where they need that. In the world of addictions and people that are in recovery, there's a lot of that going back and forth. Some people feel that if you're on, maintenance, you're not clean. Some people feel that they are because it's not. They're not getting that drugs off the street, but they still can get it off the street. Mm-hmm. So there is that. There is so much back and forth on some people believe, some people don't. But yeah, that's a lot of where they come from. They go, from medication, pain medication. They get addicted to that, and then it's too expensive. Then they go to the street drug, and I feel like that's where it starts. But it's very quickly to get even like someone that has had ADHD and they take Adderall. Mm-hmm. That withdrawal is like going off any other withdrawal. That's painful.
Yeah.
It
looked like just a horrific time to get off of it. And that, like, the weird part is that I think with opioids, it wasn't like they got a high from it. It was just that they were taking it to not have the withdrawal.
Yeah. They get dependent, where they don't want to experience that withdrawal. They don't want to be sick. Same thing with alcoholism. Mm-hmm. I know people that they don't even like the taste of alcohol, but they need it to continue to be able to function during their day. So they would have a, vodka before they go to work in the morning, and they would actually have it within their day, and there'll be, what people have called functioning addicts.
Yeah. So so in order just to not feel sick and hungover, they got to be drunk. That all these people working at home, it's probably really easy to just, because I remember when I first was able to work at home, it was you'd be like, I'm at home. Like, I'm looking at all my, like,
right, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And then when everything was shut down.
I think the rates of, and doing what I've been doing, I've seen more overdose, suicide. The intimate partner violence has increased drastically because they have nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
And their partner is right there.
And I think people need to spend time away from one another. Mm-hmm. I remember when I was a kid, and like I'd play with one friend all the time, then we'd fight, and my mother would be like, you guys need to not play together today. You need to have a break.
Yeah.
And I think people get the same way. We're like, you go here for 8 hours and you go here for 8 and come back and talk about.
You get to miss each other. You get to experience life without that other person.
And then if you add, now I was fortunate. Like I was in I wasn't worried that, my work was going to close and I was going to be out of a job. I was essential, so I was in every day. So like when I was driving to work, I'm watching when the pandemic first started, I'm watching my neighbors like tie one on at 11 o'clock in the morning in their driveway. Like, have a few guys.
Yeah.
But, when you see, but if you're taking that stress of, and then initially people thought they were actually going to die.
Yeah.
When it first started, it was like, oh man, there's going to be bodies piled up in the street. Are we going to have to like,
right? Because everyone kept invoking, it's going to be the Spanish flu.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be, what was that? Smallpox.
Yeah. Like, am I going to have to start buying ammunition? A lot of people did. When you had people loading up on ammunition and non-perishable goods, you're thinking, is this it? Like,
well, weren't they getting like cargo container, like refrigerated cargo containers, so they could put all the bodies in them?
Yeah, there were rumors going around that they're using that they were going to be using ice rinks as morgues because you
That
could literally
nowhere
put them
else to
on ice.
go.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's cold.
I can't believe that didn't freak more people out, to be honest with you.
But then you have that stress, and then as it went on and it wore on and on and on, I can see where. But there was another negative aspect of it where because kids weren't in school, that abuse wasn't being detected.
Right.
So kids who were being abused, it wasn't being picked up on
No.
because here they are.
Because when I used to work for the state and I worked in the child welfare, unit, our busiest time especially for Child Protective Services (CPS) was in September. In August, September was when the children went back to school. Was their busiest time. Because they were
right?
Because they were home all summer, and then that's when they were able to see what's going on in the home. So
Right.
yeah, it's definitely that has increased. Like I've talked to old co-workers and colleagues that I used to work with, and they said that right now, like with everything going on, their numbers have also increased in the foster care system. So it's just it has a lot of those factors have increased across the board, with a lot of with when we talk about mental health and how it's affecting everyone in one, either you've experienced it or someone that has experienced some kind of mental health illness.
Yeah, and the suicide numbers went up.
So hot.
They went up a lot, especially with the teens.
Yes.
And
Homeless.
Wasn't the largest percentage increase though in the girl teens?
Yeah.
Or young women, I guess.
Yes.
They should call it. But I guess like a lot of it, that's where a bigger boon was in the suicide, which is scary. I mean, especially if you can't do anything about it. I mean, part of it's got to do with social media. Now, I mean, think about it. And we had talked about this. Social media, I think, drives a lot of suicide. Just because
Cyberbullying.
Well, that
There's no escape from it,
right?
No.
And now think of it this way: rather than the kid going to school and possibly seeing that other person who's bullying them or confronting them, or the bully for that matter, doesn't see the victim, right? Doesn't see the effect it has on them, so they keep going and they push it and they push the boundary and they push the boundary, and that probably broke a lot of people. And rightfully, I mean, I understand why. It's a social media. What's the old saying for almost saying it's one heck of a drug?
Yeah.
It is.
And that's what it is. I mean, it's a drug, and
we're pretty much like giving it to kids. Like, there's a reason why you can't drink until you're 21,
right?
And now when the discussion of in Maryland is coming up it's going to be put before the legislature, recreational marijuana. The age is going to be 21 for that, and there's a reason for that. It's like because you're, and some would argue even 25. Like your brain's not fully developed, especially in men, until you're 25. But I think a lot of it comes from when you look at that. There's a reason we don't let kids have these chemicals, mind-altering chemicals, until they get to a certain age because it does have an effect. They're not responsible enough to use it yet. Well, now we're just going to give them this essentially like this mainline dopamine hit constantly that they can never turn off, and then when it goes bad, there's no escape from it. And we're adults. We can say, and I think we're all over the age where, like our freshman year of high school, we wrote a paper using an encyclopedia and actual books. Our freshman year of college, we were writing it using Wikipedia. So it's completely different, or just straight plagiarizing.
Well, just like how you
cases,
how you communicate with each other. Like everything is through, like texting.
Right.
A lot of or phone. Now when you think about it, not a lot of people are really talking. How many times are you in a room full of people, and how many people are actually on their phone, not interacting with each other,
right,
but actually playing with their phone or texting or, doing, going on Facebook. Like, so I think that also is a factor too, the lack of the communication interaction that we have nowadays because of social media.
And we had always talked about, I think we did an episode on when did we think we would let our kids on social media?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. We did the one like the stupid stuff the kids watch.
Right.
And then,
I don't understand some of the stuff.
TikTok is invented by the devil.
Well, so
I think it's funny, some of it, though.
so for me though, some of it isn't really social media. For me, like some people say YouTube is social media.
I don't think YouTube.
I loved YouTube.
So for me, YouTube, unless you're on the comments type and stuff, it's not social media. It's just a way to watch video.
Yes.
Someone could say TikTok is the same way, but TikTok to me is different. Instagram is different for me too. I don't as the days go by, and I keep hearing more, and you get more educated on the dangers of social media. I'm more apt to do what my brother did, which was the kids don't get it. Mm-hmm. They don't get to be on social media. Now, he gave them phones to text, but he monitored the phones and said, you're not creating Facebook accounts. You're not creating none of that stuff. You can't create any of it. But he gave it to, like, he gave them a phone so they could text. But he also tracked their phone. Mm-hmm. So they knew, like, if I go somewhere stupid, my dad's going to know.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if I want to go that far, because I don't know if that, like, erodes trust between the kid and the parent. But as the days go on and the more I hear about social media, the less likely I'm going to be to let my kids be on it. Now, to the point you made before, though, does that make a kid like a pariah, basically?
Yeah, like...
Are they that kid?
Yeah.
You know,
because, like, I'm an adult, and I'm that guy that doesn't have Facebook. And I don't care.
He used to have Facebook.
I did. Used to have it. But then I gave it up for Lent. So, many, many years ago. Best thing I've ever done. But, like, I say, hey, I'm done with it, and I realized I didn't need it. But again, we grew up before, like, when you want to call someone on the phone, you went home you picked up the phone on the cord, and
you got mail, and you couldn't use your phone. And I remember my sister and I only had an hour, before when we got home for school, to go on AOL and be able to do instant messenger, because if not, no one could get in touch. No one can use the landline phone. And I remember my sister and I would fight over who gets to go on instant messenger, AOL. You got mail with the little thing come up.
I never got on those things until college. College was my real interaction with the internet.
Well, I remember, like, I think it was my sophomore year in college is when Facebook came about, and it was only for colleges.
You had to have a .edu email address.
Did you have to have an invite, too?
Yeah, and then when you registered, it had to be a .edu
Yep. That you were in college, you had to have all that. And I remember, like, how my friends and I were so excited. We went to try to find a good picture to put on our profile.
You guys had MySpace, too.
What a marketing scheme that was. How do you get everyone to want to be on your platform? You make it invite only.
Yeah.
You make it exclusive.
Yeah.
And they did that, and it was like Gmail. Mm-hmm. Everybody wanted that Gmail invite, because originally Gmail was only by invite.
That's true.
And I think I think what they did was they ended up giving out, like, every once in a while, each user would get like 5 invites. And so, hey man, can I get an invite? Can I get Gmail? I was clamoring for an email app. That's how, like, really?
I never understood the whole, like, poke.
Yeah, what was that?
I never understood. You poked me.
Yeah.
Why?
What was that about?
What was the point of that?
It was like, hey, what's up?
Like,
remember me? I don't remember you.
Yeah.
But remember me?
Yeah. No, I kind of remember. I remember seeing it.
Yeah.
Like the poking.
Yeah, you poked me. So I have to poke you back?
Like, and then you get the weird, it's like someone just pokes you and then they don't message you.
Yeah.
Like, well, what'd you poke me for? What do you want?
That was all meta.
But I must say, like, social media, I think in other aspects have been beneficial. Like, for example, and I know this is completely going left field. Maybe not.
You fit in just fine here if you're
But online dating.
Yeah.
With everything going, that most people do, right? Nowadays, people are not really going to the bars and meeting people through those.
So I remember in college, one of our buddies met some girl on the internet, and we made fun of him. Mm-hmm. Like, you loser.
Like
there was a stigma to it.
There was Craigslist. They actually have a dating app.
Yeah, Craigslist had a lot of things.
Yeah, they had a lot of things.
they had a lot of that. What was it? It was X4X, or it was the F4M, M4M.
Yeah,
F4F.
and then there was
MM4 MM for MM.
I'm trying to figure it out now.
They had every combination in there that you wanted.
And then,
Damn.
Then there was Backpage. That was a little bit different.
Ooh.
Now there's OnlyFans.
Now there's OnlyFans.
OnlyFans. But I mean, with everything going on, like that was, I'm a single person, and that was my way of, even if I wasn't able to meet them in person, I still was able to maybe start getting to know that person, through phone, email, FaceTime, during the time where you can't talk to anybody, you can't see anybody,
So there's been they've probably been around forever. We just call them losers. Now they have a name. And there's probably a mental health aspect to this. Have you heard of an incel?
The incel.
I've heard the word. I don't know what it
heard
means.
of it.
Okay, incel means involuntarily celibate.
Oh.
So they're dudes that are essentially like, they can't meet girlfriends. They've labeled themselves incels, and they're like it's just they're full of rage.
Is that what the old devout Catholic kids were?
I guess. But these are like, but no, they were doing it because they were being told from on high. These guys are just like, they sit in their basement and don't shower, and then they wonder why they can't meet anybody.
Personal choice without the outside influence?
Yeah.
So,
at least before.
But they're full of rage, and then it seems like there's so much anger and just pent up rage and aggression. Now and since since 2020,
that could be a lot of, but that also could be that fear of rejection and that fear of just.
But see, I think it's easier
being
for
in
them,
their own head.
It's probably easier for them to just stay at home and play video games.
Yeah.
Or what if it's just the people, like, everyone wants a group, right? Well, if there's no group for you, like if you're involuntarily celibate, basically mean you can't not that I was Joe Cool back in the day. It was basically, hey, you can't get laid.
Yeah.
And well, I know there are other people out there that can't get laid because I'm talking to them on the Xbox. So
we're all together.
Why don't I create a Reddit forum and I'll call it, and I'll give it a name, and I'll call it incels.
Yeah.
And that's going to be my new group of friends.
And now they have an identity.
Right.
And I think that's a beautiful thing when you can find your people, whoever they are.
The funny thing is, like, let's say there's 30 guys in that group. Like, hey, we found a group of people, and then the one girl wants to call herself an incel. She gets in the group, and all 30 of those guys are fighting, trying to get out. You're basically trying to get out of the group. You're like, nope, I'm out. Hey, you want to get out too? Nope, just kidding. All right, I'm back in.
Yeah, but yeah, they always had a name. They're called losers. Like that was. I guess they weren't cohesive. They weren't united under one front. So, what would you? So, now that we've really beaten off, let's try to get back on.
Somehow we got the incels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. See, that's
those
how
are
this
important
works.
things, though. Those are.
I thought we were going
topics.
to ice cream. We went to incels.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So if anyone's out, as you're in the profession, and this might be as simple like Google it, dum, but it might not be that simple. Like someone who's okay, I need help. I need to talk to somebody. What would you say is the best any resources that they could go to find? Because they might not feel comfortable being like, hey man, do you see a therapist? Who do you go to? Like,
yeah, I think that it's like I think a lot of times it's like the elephant in the room that I don't think there's enough discussion around mental health and going to therapy and what that looks like, and because I do think that it's like a kind of a secret in some aspects, but I think there are many different ways on getting help. There's the first one is to go through your insurance, is to usually in the back of your insurance card there's always a mental health number that you can call, but not everyone likes to go through their insurance, especially if it's something they don't want their insurance company to know about it, or if it's job concern or something. There are other avenues you can go to. It's called betterhealth.com, which is all, again, telehealth. Some people, you can pay out of pocket, sliding scale. So it's really based on what you can afford. You can also go you can call your local health department, whatever county you're from, and most of them do have mental health therapists through their health department. You can also call United Way, which you really can call them for really anything. And they can also, they're a case manager, operator type situation where you can call them and you can say, I'm looking for a therapist, and they'll ask you for your zip code, and then they'll find people in your area. That's where the internet does come in. You can also, whatever therapist you're looking for, you can click on psychological today. .com, and you can also find if you're looking for a couples counselor, therapist, just a therapist, and they'll also give you a list of different types of therapists. They'll give you the name. They'll give them a little bit summary of what they're specialized in, their location, how are they accepting new clients, what insurance they cover, what different topics that they cover. There's different types of therapists that have specialized in different areas. So there's many different ways, but again, it's, and also if you feel comfortable talking to your primary doctor, that's also a good way to say, I'm feeling this way. Do you have any recommendations for any therapists that you might know? And also, a lot of times, if you are having that anxiety, you're having those feelings you never felt before, talking to your primary doctor could be something definitely to look into, because some primary doctors can prescribe you for antidepressives or some kind of medication, or also refer you, to someone that can also talk to you about medication, because I feel like it's the piece of the puzzle. It's your way of life. It's not just going to see a therapist, getting on medication. It's just how you live, how are you sleeping, what are you eating, are you exercising, what do you do for your, I'm a big fan of self-care. What do you do for yourself? Because I think we play so many different parts, and we live in a stressful life and busy life, so it's important to take time for yourself.
Well, I like to use the oxygen mask theory.
Yes.
So when you fly,
and
they give you the pre-flight briefing, they say to put your own oxygen mask on before you
can't take care of
your
anybody
kids
else.
on. And when I was a kid, I said, well, that's messed up. Like, they should put mine on first.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, if
No.
Dad doesn't get his on,
Yeah.
yours isn't getting on either. And you're both gonna.
I don't know why I thought this when you first came out with oxygen mask. I thought you were going to be talking about like weed and hot boxing.
Yeah.
I know where your head is.
That's where I thought you were going, but we didn't go that way.
No.
No, but that and I always stress that too. If you need to take care of yourself first, and that comes first. Because if you don't take care of yourself, that will affect your relationship, that will affect your job, that will affect your overall health. Because I think a lot of times mental health is not like physical health, where if you have a broke arm, you go to the doctor and you get a cast on. You get a cast, right? And then you go to physical therapy. When you have, if you're depressed or you have anxiety or some kind of mental health, people can't physically see that.
There's no head wrap for that.
No, there isn't.
I tried. It didn't work.
You can't put that on your forehead.
I tried to do the compression wrap on my head. And
my head's broke.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny, like, because there's the stigma involved with it, and especially as dudes, like, we're told to, boys don't cry, and you have to be stoic, you have to be tough, you have like bury your emotions deep down inside where they belong, and then there's also cultural aspects, like like if you're from any sort of Anglo-Saxon area, Ireland, England, like, that's what, bury it down, don't talk about it.
It says that nobody. It was the old. Nobody's gonna do anything for you.
Yeah,
suck it up, move forward.
Yeah, keep it moving.
Or you don't talk about your dirty laundry.
Yeah, right.
Outside of your home, like, keep it in. Don't.
Yeah, and then the stigma, but it's a weird thing. Like, your head is your brain is a very important part of your body, kind of probably the most important. But if I came to you and said, hey, I think I'm having chest pain, like, and I got this tingling in my arm, like, well, hey, dum go to the doctor.
Yeah, but if you're talking about how you're feeling,
Yeah, then
like
it's
emotionally, it's kind of
suck it
like
up,
suck it
pussy.
up, like
Yeah.
go,
Oh, you feeling sad?
go,
Yay.
yeah, go
Yeah.
take a walk, go outside,
Yeah.
like, But I must say, like, in the last I should say the last 5 years that I've been doing this, I've seen more men coming in for therapy. Actually, in my caseload that I have right now, I have more men on my caseload than women. So I don't know if it's just that people are talking more about it, or if it's affecting their job that they're coming
Yeah, or
in,
the judge.
or their relationship.
Well, it's probably over the
Yeah.
last year, the men probably saw that they were about 10 times more likely to get murdered by the wife. So the wife's like, look, I got my therapy. I'm about to murder you.
So
And the
if you
man and the guy's probably like, you know what? I'm going to go to therapy. I'm going to work this out. And you can put the knife back in the butcher block.
Yeah.
But we hate to cut it short, but we're right around our hour limit. And but we appreciate you coming out.
Thank you so much. I had a great time, and thank you very much for having me.
For anyone that needs services, just rewind a little bit. Stephanie gave out some good resources for finding mental health. Also, don't forget to protect your identity, private internet access. The link is at dumbideapodcast.com on the right-hand side. Get yourself a VPN under $250 a month. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, and we will see you next time.